Welcome to the Digital Transformation Podcast, a podcast that connects you with the most influential players in this field who are shaping up the world around us digitally. We help you gain an edge on your competition, whether you're a small business owner, CEO, or just someone who wants to stay informed on all things digital. This is your go-to source. With your host, Michelle Cimino, the CEO of the Lasting Dynamics Group.
Welcome everyone to our new episode of Digital Transformation Podcast. Today we welcome Mr. Nicolas Babin, that is currently the president at Babin Business Consulting and expert at the World Economic Forum, and previously was the director of corporate communication at Sony Europe. Mr. Babin, we also saw that recently you were awarded the top 100 global thought leader on technology to follow in 2022. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And welcome. So, Mr. Babin, we usually open with your definition of digital transformation.
Yes, so to me, digital transformation is about change management, an evolution for companies to be able to use technology, but not only technology, it's also to be able to use a different way of doing business. So for companies that are used to sell boxes, products within a box, it's a transformation that will allow them to sell solutions. That's how I see it. Digital transformation, yes, I know there's a digital world in it, but it's not only about digital, it's about really transformation and transforming the business in order to evolve into what customers want. It's all around CX, which is customer experience.
Okay, great definition. The second question that I have for you today is, I know that you are an expert in 5G, e-health, and gamification. I would like to know from you, how are these technologies shaping the world at the moment?
Technology is definitely something much bigger because 5G is an evolution from 4G. So 5G allows technology to go faster, allows technology to have larger broadband. When you talk about gamification or e-health, gamification, it's a marketing mechanic where you use game mechanics to do something not fun to make it a little bit fun. And e-health, it's a market, basically is shaping the world because it will allow Internet of Things to be much faster, to be more performant, and to have a much connected world. 5G will allow, if I just give one example that will bring me after that to e-health, but if you're a patient and you have a very rare disease and you live in Paris, you'll be able to have a surgeon in Australia or New Zealand or anywhere in the world operate on you without any latency. What I call latency is, when you move a little bit and you get a little latency in terms of how the robot on the other side will behave. Meaning when you have less than 1 millisecond latency, which is what 5G is claiming, it means that you are basically almost the arm of the robot. The surgeon in New Zealand will be able just to move a little bit. The robot in Paris to operate on me will be able to do that. So it's shaping the world because it's really definitely shrinking the world. And that's the reason, and I know we'll talk later on about other technologies, but that's the reason we see it today, the explosion of all these new technologies is because we're getting now the broadband, the network, and the infrastructure ready to ensure that at least we are within this transformation arena, as we mentioned. In terms of e-health, I think healthcare in general is really the area that's going to benefit the most from this revolution or evolution of lifestyle. Why? Because we don't have enough doctors. Healthcare costs in some countries are becoming absolutely insane. Insurances in some countries are basically protecting their own margins to ensure that at least patients don't have the same healthcare. In America, for example, if you're rich, you're going to get great access to healthcare. If you're a working class person, you are going to really struggle to find good healthcare. I lived in the US for many years, and I know it's a problem. E-health will allow, again, everybody to be more connected, will allow doctors, like, let's say I'm a doctor right now, and you, Michele, you are my patient. Well, you can tell me I have a fever, I can look at your tongue, you have IoT, so connected objects next to you, you can have your blood pressure being measured, I can see that on my screen, blood pressure is a little bit high, I can see that you have a little bit of fever. I can go check your weight because you have connected balance. It's everything will allow me to be closer to you, even though we're in two different countries, right? So you have e-health, which is the production of solutions and applications, which will allow diabetes patients, for example, to have a better care to their diabetes. You know, the most important thing is when you realize you're diabetic, immediately you have to stay in hospital for at least a week in order for the hospital staff to explain to you what is diabetes and how you can manage it. I created a diabetes company back in 2017, a startup, and we were managing on mobile phones, the diabetes. It's called DiabeLive. It's still working, and it's a great product. And DiabeLive will allow your doctor and the patient to be always connected. So let's say I am traveling, because normally diabetes patients don't travel because their disease is really a barrier to traveling, but you can now travel. And you have a problem, then your doctor can see all your vitals immediately, because the system will get all your vitals through a gained object. So like when you prick your finger in order to get a low blood sample, you have an immediate analysis of your blood. So the doctors can see, and the doctor can tell you real time, because you can have, again, a communication like this, or by text, or by WhatsApp, whatever. And the doctor can say, you need to increase your insulin level, or you need to decrease your insulin level, or you need to stop eating that, you need to change your behavior, you need to do more sports, whatever. But that is one example among others. The surgeon being in Paris, or having a robot in Paris, is another example. So you have many, many examples where e-health as an application provider can use technology to shape the world. And today I live in France, and in some part of France, we don't have doctors. And I can see, thanks to telecommunications and Visio and everything, finally, people have access to doctors from their home. So you can even be sick, whatever, you can travel, you're in a wheelchair, you can have access to your doctor. So it's really definitely changing the world. In terms of gamification, it's a different thing than the first two, because gamification has been around for a long time. I started talking about gamification back in 2004. I was with Sony. We had PlayStations, and I could see that people playing games were extremely engaged, and they could spend hours in their games. And during that time, they were so focused and so engaged, they would basically read messages on their screens. They could listen to the messages. And I was thinking, I sell televisions as a Sony employee. And how can I get, when you enter any electronic shop, you have a wall of TVs, right? And you have Samsung, Sony, LG. At the time, you had Philips. You had all the Chinese brands coming in. And I was thinking, how can I make it that people going into television know that they are getting close to the Sony brand, and therefore want a Sony TV, rather than you looking at all of them and just having to depend on a salesperson to say the best one is a Sony. So that's where gamification, in my mind at least, came up. So gamification is really the best methodology that you can find today for engagement. We'll talk about metaverse after that, but metaverse is full of gamified products, gamified services, because it's digital, because it's about engagement, and because it's fun. So I wouldn't say that gamification is shaping the world the way 5G, robotics, e-health, AI, artificial intelligence, IoT, Internet of Things are changing the world. But gamification is one piece of the puzzle which will make the overall experience that you have online more fun and more engaging.
Okay, I recall Lisbon 2015, it was Horizon 2020, and technology in the field of the communication was 4G at that time. And now we have 5G, and 5G is definitely bringing the real-time interaction. That is what is definitely innovating the e-health field in this direction with a lot of new applications. What should we instead expect from 6G?
When I first started with Sony, I was involved with the change from 2G to 3G. You'll be able to communicate better with people. It's funny because 3G to 4G was exactly the same. 4G, 5G is exactly the same. It's bigger broadband, less latency, and it's different type of receivers or frequencies. I'm only involved on the marketing side with the 6G reflections at this stage. I only start thinking about it. In general, it's every 10 years that we have the change from 4G to 5G. It took about 10 years. 5G to 6G might be a little bit faster than 10 years. But it's going to be around frequencies. It's going to be around possibilities for robots, for autonomous vehicles. The reason why 5G is out is because we needed it for Internet of Things. We have more objects now connected than ever before. And so we need an infrastructure to allow that. That's why the frequency is also changing. But what we're going to see from now until the next 5 years, and I'm going maybe a little bit ahead of myself here, but we're going to see a little bit more autonomous cars, trucks, autonomous buses, and all these things. And I think 6G is going to be the channel that's going to help all this autonomy around smart cities, around smart vehicles, energy management, and 6G is going to be around those. That's my personal guess.
Okay, thank you for your opinion. Mr. Babin, you already anticipated my next question about the metaverse. Let's talk about it. Okay, so I would like to understand what is your opinion about the future of this technology? The world is really divided at the moment. The real application that we have been seeing in the metaverse, first of all, everything is metaverse and probably nothing at the moment. And we already discussed a bit about gamification, and definitely the best application we saw until today of the metaverse was gaming. So I would like to understand what is your expectation in the gaming world, in the health industry, and in the educational field?
Number one, in terms of metaverse, I have some background that many people don't have, is the fact that back in 2000, 2001, Second Life came out. And to me, it's the grandfather of metaverse. But Sony back in 2001, and few people will remember that, but I do because I was very involved. We launched Home, which was a service that was competing against Second Life. So we had on PlayStation this game where people could walk into an environment, meet people, talk to people, go see a movie and things like that, which was really the beginning of what we call metaverse. Metaverse term comes already from 1992, mentioned in a sci-fi movie. And then 2001, 2002, Second Life and Home. We've been waiting for the maturing of all the technologies involved in the metaverse. I'm talking about virtual reality, augmented reality, obviously extended reality, which is a combination of both. We were waiting to have blockchain because in order to have an economy, we need to be able to trade things, and you can trade things using NFT, which is based on blockchain technology. So all these together basically make it the metaverse is a possibility. I'm very optimistic about metaverse because I see so many companies today communicating about it and investing a lot of money. When I see Nike investing hundreds of millions of dollars into Artifact and launching virtual sports shoes for $10,000, you're at the stage where the economy is, to say the least, strange. You have the war in Ukraine, which makes supply chain worldwide difficult, which makes a lot of products very difficult to get, which makes the stock market very unstable. But you still have money around because we came out of COVID and all these companies started to boom. And so they started to get a lot of money. But behind it, they don't know where to invest that money because today it's not very safe to put it on the markets. I'm not saying that it's safe to put it on cryptos or anything, but I'm saying it's another angle of investment that we need to consider. And so between the fact that the technology is ready, the people are ready for it because all these companies are pouring in hundreds of millions and some of them even billions of dollars, and you have the world economy in the situation where it is today, I'm very optimistic that we're going to see an explosion of the metaverse. Already Meta, the ex-Facebook company, is investing billions. We have retailers investing billions, Carrefour being one of them already. You have banks actually today buying virtual land because they are planning later on to sell land or houses to people virtually, right? So it's a very disruptive way for old people like myself. You think, but it's not based on anything. It's not based on assets, but it's based on a new economy that we have seen coming for the last over 20 years. So I think we're ready for it. I think we've learned from the past, and that's why I started by talking about Second Life and Home. We've learned of what works and what doesn't work. Back in 2002, with what we know today, I would have never invested in Home or Second Life because technology was not ready and you had to have modem in order to have access to internet. I mean, you think about it, now we're 5G, we have Wi-Fi 6, we're like booming in terms of communicating. We've learned from the past. We have big companies investing very large amount of money into this. Today, the only thing that makes me a little bit careful is the fact that we're still in the marketing and communication phase. So it's very trendy to talk about the metaverse. Everybody thinks, wow, metaverse. As soon as you mention that, everybody starts listening, starts asking you questions. So it's still in the phase of the trend, which makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But when you look beyond the trend and you see what really is happening today and what companies are really working on it, if you go to Roblox and you go to Nike Land, you'll see what Nike has started to build. It's really impressive. Microsoft with Mesh is starting to plan a great platform as well. Meta is planning a great platform as well. I'm optimistic. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we need to give it a shot.
Okay, so I'm trying to connect the dots now. We started from gamification and we discussed about television, really good example. I'm trying now to connect it with the metaverse and the education. And my question is, during the pandemic, the kids have been connecting using these tools like Zoom and the Teams and many others in order to follow the class and talk with the teachers. The question is, do we really need another kind of user experience in this direction? Do we really need them to be part of this metaverse, to eventually use the virtual reality to meet their friends or the teacher? And what is the social impact in all of this, in your opinion?
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Digital Transformation Podcast. We hope you found it valuable. Do act on the information and take relevant business decisions to grow. We will see you in the next episode.